In today's video, we're going to be talking about 5 lies that sellers very commonly tell when they put their home on the market. Now you might be thinking, Barrett, wait a minute, what are you talking about? Are you telling me that sellers are going to lie to me when they put their home on the market? Yes, my friend, that is a distinct possibility. They are going to lie. Now listen, I'm not talking about big giant lies, like things that you blatantly lie about on the seller's disclosure if you're the seller, things that are material defects that you just do not mention, which, by the way, if you're a seller, little tip, don't do that, because that will put you in court and you will very quickly hear yourself saying, well, but Your Honor, I thought. So don't do that. Don't be the person that lies on the seller's disclosure, because trust me when I tell you, when you move and you're a month gone, your neighbors are going to tell on you. They are going to let the new folks that they want to build a rapport with, they're going to tell them that your pool leaks all the time, or that you are the one that put the roof on, not Acme Roofing Company. So don't do that. You're going to get caught. What we're talking about today are the small, subtle lies that can stack up into hiding the bigger lie. But I'm talking about things that they come off as relatively innocent, but nonetheless, they are lies, and I am talking about the smaller, subtle lies. Now, many times the small, subtle lies are in an attempt to hide the bigger issues. So these are things we want to know about. These are little subtle lies that people tell that if you add them all up, many times as a buyer, you can potentially get a little leg up on your negotiation if you knew the truth to all of these little bitty lies that can be told. And some of these little bitty lies add up to big problems and maybe would have stopped you on a home purchase. So they are all important, and we're going to go over them today. And in addition to that, I'm going to tell you the ways that we can try to dig a little bit deeper and not put you in a position, if you're a buyer, to have to deal with any of that. Now, if this is the first time we're meeting, I want to say hello. My name is Barrett Pastor, and I've been a real estate broker for over 26 years. So hopefully I'm coming to you from a place of knowledge and experience, and I can help you navigate through all things Florida real estate. All right, in no particular order, we're going to jump into these 5. Number 1, why they're moving. Why the seller is moving. So when I list a property and I sit down, we do the walkthrough of the property, we talk about all the things. One of the things we talk about is, why are you moving? It's something that I really have to know, because it helps me have a better exit strategy for the husband and the wife, the family, however it is they are going to be moving forward. These are things that I have to know. But many times, husband and wife don't want me to tell the buying public why they are actually moving. So why would they feel like that? Why wouldn't they just be honest? Well, it could be any number of things. One, it could be they can't afford the house anymore. Maybe a husband or wife lost their job. Income into the household is lesser. Could that be a compromised position for the seller? Would that be something that you would want to know as the buyer? In your mind, would you maybe make a lower offer with maybe better terms, because that might help out the seller and get you preferred pricing? I think so. Maybe they're getting divorced and they don't want to tell you they're getting divorced, because again, compromised position. It could be splitting of what the ultimate windfall is going to be in the sale, and maybe one or other of the parties is a whole lot more motivated to get out and they're going to take a lower amount. Would that be something you might want to know? Yes. So how do we get to the truth? Well, we can do a little digging. And we can be awake as we're looking at the property. We can be aware of what we're looking at. For example, I have had situations where we go through a house, we see husband and wife on all the paperwork signed. We're looking around and we notice that there's nothing but women's clothing in the closet. No evidence of this husband whatsoever. So we might be able to make a pretty good guess that he's either not there any longer, or he's already left, or something's going on there. Another thing I like to look for is, I always suggest, sometimes it's really hot in Florida and people don't want to walk outside, especially if it's just a lanai. But I always say walk all the way out, because more than once I've had a scenario where we walk all the way out into the grass and a gigantic dog comes tearing for the fence. That could be a reason that someone is selling. That dog could be a dog that jumps the fence. It could be a dog that barks all hours of the night. You, as the buyer, may not want to deal with that, and maybe that's the reason that the seller is moving. Next one, we have a new AC in 2015. We put a new roof on in 2018. Sometimes people throw around that word new very loosely, and you need to be aware of that. If somebody says new roof, new AC, make sure you're looking at that seller's disclosure, because it might be new in 2016. Well, that's not new. That's not new in my book. That is one that I see all the time. Anytime somebody says new and they don't know the date, I always ask for paperwork. Even if they say, oh, well, I'm not sure, I don't have the paperwork anymore on the AC, but I'm pretty sure it's pretty new. It can't be more than a year or two old. It's pretty new, right, honey? It's pretty new. Yeah, I would say it's pretty new. We can go back and look for permits. We can look to see, did they pull a permit on the roof? Did they pull a permit for the AC? That catches things pretty darn often, and not everyone does that. It is public record. Title companies, a good title company, a good attorney's office will do that for you as part of your purchase process. So make sure when somebody says something is new, if it was something that meant something to you, like for example, new filter in the pool, okay, not that big of a deal, but new roof, new AC, new hot water heater, things like that, you're going to see permits. So make sure that that's being checked for. Oh yeah, the neighbors are great. The best thing about this house is the neighborhood. We are so sad to be leaving. We didn't want a sign in the yard because we don't want the neighbors to know we're moving. Listen, that one, I'm going to say 50% of the time is a bold lie. It could be that the husband doesn't get along with the guy across the street. It could be that they don't want anybody to know they're moving because they don't get along with any of the neighbors. It could be, and this is real life scenario, I have shown a house where there was somebody in the neighborhood who was, let's just say, maybe a little off. We'll just say it that way. Probably a little off. While I was showing the house was beautiful. It was staged. It had music. It was absolute perfection. And the buyers were like, wow, this is a great price. This is a beautiful home. We wouldn't have to do anything to it, and all the furniture is included. So out we go. We're standing out in the front yard. We're kind of looking around. You know how you kind of look around and you become aware of what's going on around you. Well, about 2 houses down across the street, we notice that there is a man who's standing behind a tree, behind the tree trunk, with goggles on, leaned like this, staring at the buyers. And then he kind of poked his head back, and I could see that they saw what I saw, and they were like, is that a kid, or is that? And I just kind of stood there and I said, well, let's just stand here a minute and observe. So we walked around the front yard a little bit more, and we see the same guy with the goggles kind of doing this. Now, they did not buy that house. Was that a weird, fluky situation? Maybe. Or was that part of the great neighbors crew? I don't know. If it were me, I wouldn't have bought that house either. All right, the next one, number 4, issues with the pool. That is one of the things that gets missed a lot. Now, I will say that that is also one of the things that people are not as aware of. If you're an older couple and you're selling your home and you did not use the pool very often, maybe you used to, the grandkids used to come all the time and visit, but you're moving out of state because nobody ever comes to visit you anymore and you haven't used that pool for 3 years. You have no idea what's going on with it. Well, you might say the pool is fine, but things like, yes, a filter, pool pumps, those go out, but there's other things that are bigger ticket items like a pool heater in Florida. A lot of people want a pool heater in Florida, and that can run about $5,000. A lot of times people don't know that their pool heater is not working. There's not that long of life on those. I know they'll say, oh, you should get a good solid 10 years out of it. I've never gotten 10 years out of a pool heater, ever. I feel like 5-ish is when things start to go wrong, and we maintain things, so I'm not really sure why that happens, but it does. The other thing with pools is leaking. One of the things that pool companies will say a lot, and I'm sure they're trying their best, I hope they are, but they seem to get this one wrong a lot, and that's when it's really hot in Florida and you get a lot of evaporation out of a pool. So sometimes you'll hear, oh, well, it's just Florida. You need to continue to add water into your pool. Pools can leak. Could be a little crack you were unaware of, a little crack that nobody knew was there, a little spot where it's just kind of enough that you're losing an inch of water every single day. Those things happen. Those are expensive to fix. Resurfacing the pool. You'll hear people say, oh, it just needs a really good scrub down. Well, if you're coming from up north and you don't know the difference between a pool actually needing to be resurfaced and needing to be really cleaned, that is a big ticket item. Again, around $4,000 or $5,000. Another one is the tiles, the little decorative tiles. If those are popping off and you can't see it because you never get in the pool, or the seller prepared and they have the water up high enough that it's kind of forcing the tiles back a little bit, you might find that those tiles are coming off and there could be damaged concrete behind and the pool is leaking. So how do you avoid that? What I would say is absolutely make sure, don't just get a comprehensive building inspection, definitely get that, but also hire a good pool company to come out and go through the entire pool. A lot of building inspectors will say, oh, I can do it, or I'll throw it in for an extra $50. No. It's too much money. It's too much money. You don't want to do that. Make sure that you're hiring a pro. And then the last one, the number they will accept. A lot of sellers will negotiate to X. Let's say their house is on the market for $500,000. You make an offer at $400,000. They lose their mind. They're mad at you. Couple days later, they come back. Your agent says, listen, I heard from so-and-so. They're willing to negotiate a little bit. So you come back and you put your $400,000 on the table again. And they say $475, not a dime less. This is my best and final. Many times, if you give that a week, they're going to come back to you again. The fact that they came back to you at all is a really good sign. What could be going on there? Well, it could be simply that they were posturing. They were kind of testing the water. Their agent could have talked them through comps that have come up. Any of those things can cause a little bit more motivation from a seller. And we always let people know most of the time, not always, but I would say most of the time, your best offer is going to come in the first 3 weeks of your listing because people see it as new. They're going to give you a number, and beyond that 3 weeks, you're going to watch that number drop and drop and drop. Cannot count to you the number of times that I have said this to sellers who get some kind of way with me, and then we're 2 months in and they're saying, gosh, Barrett, we should have listened. We wish we could have that offer back. So always know that if you throw an offer, if your gut says, I noticed there was only the wife's clothes there in the house, and then there was that big Rottweiler that lives next door. So if you've done your due diligence and you've checked some tax records and your agent has done some digging for you, and you know that these people are pretty motivated to sell, and you feel like there's a little softness in that price, your gut is telling you that, do not feel like you can't come back again with that same lower offer, or even with an offer just a little bit higher. That many times will shake out where the actual number will fall, because many sellers, their knee-jerk reaction, anywhere below what they put out there, they put $500,000 out there. Sometimes for the first week, 2 or a month, they expect $500,000. Sometimes it takes a little bit of time, but maybe they really would accept $450,000. Sometimes people put a price out at $500,000 and they had no reasonable expectation to get that number. They said, listen, let's put it out at $500,000, but if we get $425,000, we're going to go ahead and take it. If it's cash at $425,000, we're going to go ahead and take it. So I always say to my buyers, test the water. Nobody's going to die from a low offer. They might get a little upset with you, they might get a little huffy about it, but nobody's going to die from a lowball offer. So let's go ahead and throw it. I will take the heat. Many times that shakes out where the real number is. So those are the top 5 things that sellers commonly lie about. Let me know down in comments if there's anything I forgot to mention that you're aware of that we all need to know about as well. So if you enjoy these videos, please consider subscribing, and I'll see you in the next couple days for another one.